Hey, what's going on, guys? Back for another one. It's your host, Lifestyle Amazing, also known as Amazin Skillz. Today, we're going to be talking about some starts and some sleepers, as well as some sits and some survivors. So, we're going to break it down into those categories. I know this is a football podcast. Welcome to the Amazin Skillz Football Podcast. But I am a Kobe fan, so we're going to do this in a Lakers shirt today, too, as well. So let's get started. Okay, this week, happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Starting Thursday, I'm going to say, well, my quarterback is going to be a start kind of sleeper, and that is Will Levis of the Tennessee Titans going up against the bad Carolina Panthers. This is going to be a game to where Levis might have a breakout game. I believe in him this week, so he's a guy that I'm saying is a sleeper / start. Then we got a guy who's dealing with an injury, but he said his ankle's 100%, and that is Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. You know, he's going against another elite quarterback, but he has the talent to score and get the job done. I think he'll be good this week. Then we got this guy I mentioned in the last few weeks, and that is Joshua Dobbs of the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Chicago Bears. Dobbs against Fields should be a good matchup, so we'll see. It could be a shootout. I think Dobbs is fitting in well with the Minnesota Vikings, and Justin Jefferson is almost on his way back. So, yeah, definitely going to have a good week. Then we got Justin Fields on the other side of that from the Chicago Bears going against the Minnesota Vikings. And we seen Fields return last week. He looked like himself, or looked like the guy that he was when they drafted him, what they expected him to be. You know, he's going to get DJ Moore involved. He's going to use his legs to try to run and score as well. So I like him in this matchup. He's a guy you can put into your lineup. And then we got a guy that who was a number one quarterback, drafted number one first overall, but hasn't really played like that. But he's been playing pretty good this year, and that is Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Bucks going up against the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have been hit with some injuries, so I think that Mayfield will be able to get Evans involved and just get the ball to his receivers as well as his tight ends, running backs. I see him having a decent game this week. Now we're going to go with some sits and survivors. This category is guys that you should probably sit, and if it's a survivor, well, hopefully you survive the week, because there's a chance that they won't do that good. So my first guy at quarterback is the guy I mention all the time, is Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers going up against the Detroit Lions. The Lions play good on Thanksgiving. I think that is going to be the case again, maybe, or Love is not going to really play up to the level of what they expect him to do. So he's a sit for me this week. Then we got Russell Wilson of the Denver Broncos going up against the tough Cleveland Browns defense. I don't like Wilson this week. I don't think he's consistent enough as he goes on, and he's getting older. You know, he's declining, and he's not in his prime like he used to be. So he's a sit for me this week for sure. Then we got a guy who's been playing relatively well, has talented wide receivers around him, but he's going up against the Dallas Cowboys, and that is not a defense you want to play, and that is Sam Howell of the Washington Commanders. He's a guy that you could usually play, but I don't think this week is the week that you play him. And then we got this guy coming off an injury. We don't know if he's going to play yet. He also has a talented team, as I mentioned before in previous weeks, and this is Derek Carr of the New Orleans Saints going up against the Atlanta Falcons. We know the Falcons do struggle on offense, but they do have a pretty good defense. So I think that Carr is a guy that I'm putting on my bench this week and see how it plays out. Then we got this guy who took over for Joe Burrow, and that is Jake Browning of the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Mike Tomlin will try to attack the quarterback, so I don't like him in this matchup, even with them having Jamar Chase trying to bail him out. I just see it being more maybe of a Joe Mixon game. Then we're going to go with my starts and sleepers at the running back position, and that is a guy who's playing behind Madison on the Vikings, and that is Ty Chandler of the Minnesota Vikings. I think Chandler is going to get more carries as the season comes along, so he's a guy that I think could be a very good sleeper this week, even as the backup running back. And he's going against the Chicago Bears, who haven't stopped anybody but themselves this year. Then you got a guy that's a sleeper right here, all because of the injury to Kenneth Walker. Zach Charbonnet of the Seattle Seahawks is going up against a tough San Francisco 49ers defense, but Charbonnet is a 3-down back. He has the skills. He's going to showcase it, plus he can catch the ball too as well. He's a guy I'm starting this week. The guy coming back from an injury right now, and this is Kyren Williams of the Los Angeles Rams going up against the Arizona Cardinals. I think that Williams is going to be back. I don't think he'll be limited. I think you can throw him in your lineup with confidence. This guy you can start. He's going to give you points. Just put him in and good things will happen. Then we got another injury in Green Bay. They have A.J. Dillon taking over the starting job this week. So we don't know how long Jones is going to be out, but we know Jones is not going to be playing this week. A.J. Dillon is a guy that you could put in. He could be a very good sleeper this week. He's going up against the Detroit Lions. So that's a good matchup for him. Over here, I have two guys. I got these guys of the New England Patriots, and that is Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke the Freak Elliott going up against the New York Little Giants, because they are a peewee team this year, and I don't see them stopping them. So I see both of them doing a pound and ground type of game. So guys, you could definitely put in your lineup. Derrick Henry's dealing with a little bit of an injury. I mean, down the stretch, they might not play him as much. So I think that Tajay Spears of the Tennessee Titans going up against the Carolina Panthers. I don't think any running back, any player going against Carolina is a guy that you could probably start. A guy from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jaylen Warren, going up against the Denver Broncos. The Broncos have an okay defense, but Warren splits with Harris. And I think Warren is going to leapfrog Harris at some point. Maybe it could be this week. So Warren is a guy that Mike Tomlin's going to try to get involved. You can definitely put him in your lineup. Some sits and survivors on the running back side, and that's going to be Bijan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons going up against the New Orleans Saints. We know the Saints are a great defense. We know that Robinson hasn't run that consistent this year. I don't like him this week. It sucked to sit him, but I think this is the week that you might have to. Another guy who's a smaller back, he plays on a high-powered offense, but that is James Cook of the Buffalo Bills going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't want any part of him playing against that Jerome Ford of the Cleveland Browns going up against the Denver Broncos. We know that the Browns get Hunt involved a lot, so Ford is going to split the carries. Yeah, he might get 15 carries for you, but will that be productive enough to give him enough yards for you and your fantasy team? I'm not too sure of that, so he's a guy that I'm looking to fade this week. Then we got another guy who's been started slow, then got hot, and now he might lose his RB1 slot, and that is Najee Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. They will have to run this game, but I don't think it's going to be mainly Harris. It's going to be a lot of Warren involved too, so Harris is a guy that I'm looking to fade this week. And we got another guy who's young, quick, athletic, but there's too many running backs, and their quarterback is also a running back, and this is Keaton Mitchell of the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't like him in this matchup. Until they give him that #1 role, I don't see him being productive enough for you guys to put in your lineup going forward. A guy who's really not that great of a running back. Like I said, he's more like a fullback, and that is Madison of the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Chicago Bears. Yes, the Bears are not that great at stopping the run, but the way Dobbs is playing and Ty Chandler stepping up, I don't really see a lot of room for Madison to grow or to get a lot of opportunities in this game. And then we got a guy that just came back from an injury, and he's playing on a team with this like a three-headed monster, I guess, and that is Khalil Herbert of the Chicago Bears going up against the Minnesota Vikings. This game could be a shootout. Will Herbert get the ball? Will it be Roshan Johnson that they put in with him? I don't know who's going to take over that job, but right now I would rather just wait and see what happens. Starts and sleepers at wide receiver. One of my number one guys is Jaden Reed of the Green Bay Packers going up against the Detroit Lions. I think Reed has been stepping up. I think Love likes throwing him the ball. He's a good target over the middle. He's a guy I could see definitely be productive this week. Okay, then we got a guy coming back who wasn't healthy the last couple of weeks, but we know the talent is there, and that is Joshua Downs of the Indianapolis Colts going up against a bad Tampa Bay Bucks defense, which is crazy because the Bucks are usually a good defense, but Downs has the skills to catch a lot of passes in this game. So he's a guy you can definitely start. Another guy who's a rookie or a second-year pro, Demario Douglas of the New England Patriots going up against the New York Giants. I think they're both new teams, new quarterbacks they might have. So I think that he's a guy that you can play and hope that he's going to catch some passes. He is kind of a sleeper this week. The injury to CeeDee Lamb, but I think Lamb is okay. He said he's going to play. This guy's been playing pretty good lately, and that is Brandon Cooks of the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Washington Commanders. He's a guy that I definitely think that you can put into your lineup and not have to worry about anything. He makes my love list, hate list all the time, and this is Calvin Ridley of the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Houston Texans. The Texans are not the best defense, but Ridley will get some volume from Trevor Lawrence, and I think that he will be involved in this game. Then we got a guy who's the second wide receiver on his team, but has the speed, has the talent, can catch, and that is Devonta Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the Buffalo Bills. This game is going to be a shootout. Two elite quarterbacks going against each other. I do like Smith in this game. Then we got the sits and survivors. So we don't know what's going to happen with them. So here we go. On this one, I got Quentin Johnson. Will eventually break out one of these weeks. He'll be consistent, I think, down the stretch. But going against the Baltimore Ravens this week, I don't like that matchup. So he's a guy that I'm definitely looking to sit this week. This guy got lost somewhere. I don't know. We thought he was going to be something special, and that is Christian Watson of the Green Bay Packers going up against the Detroit Lions. I don't see a very productive big game from him, so he's a guy I'm definitely sitting. This guy who's coming back off of his injury with a bad quarterback play has the talent, but nobody can get him the ball, and that is Drake London of the Atlanta Falcons going up against the New Orleans Saints. Anybody who plays the Saints from a wide receiver or tight end position or any position I don't want to play, he's definitely a guy I'm sitting this week. And then we got this guy who's been playing pretty good, but he had a shoulder injury last game, and that is Odell Beckham of the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Cleveland Browns, up against one of his old teams, but I just don't see him really being that good in this one. So you definitely could sit him. And then another guy dealing with an injury that's been very talented as a rookie, has showcased that he could play in the big leagues, and that is Zay Flowers of the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. This is a game where he can do good, but it's also a game where he can give you a couple of points, which is not going to help you win your week. Now I'm going to go into my starts and sleepers at tight end, and that is the first guy I'm going to talk about is Mike Mayer of the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. We know they're going to have to pass in that game, so I think that Mayer will have a good chance to score some points in this one. A guy who's going to be consistent every week, and with his quarterback coming back, that is Trey McBride of the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Los Angeles Rams, who like to also pass too as well, but they're getting their running back. I think McBride will be involved a lot in this offense going forward. A guy who's been very consistent as well, and Dak Prescott loves throwing him the ball. He's always loved throwing tight ends the ball, and that is Jake Ferguson of the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Washington Commanders. So he's a guy I can definitely put in my lineup. Then we got some sits and survivors at tight end, and that is Isaiah Likely of the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. I know everybody's in love with Likely right now, but I just don't see him doing that good this week, and it's very unlikely, at least for me it is. Then we got a guy who just came back from injury, but his quarterback is not that great right now, and they're probably going to run the ball more, and that is Pat Freiermuth of the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think they're going to need him that much in this game, so he's a guy I'm going to definitely bench this week. Then we got another talented tight end that is kind of like a wide receiver, but then again, I told you the quarterback play is not good. And that's Kyle Pitts of the Atlanta Falcons going up against the New Orleans Saints. And you know what I said about their defense, so he's a guy I'm definitely sitting. With my defense, with my starts and sleepers, right now at defense, I'm going to go with the starts. Kansas City versus the Las Vegas Raiders. New Orleans Saints versus the Atlanta Falcons. Denver Broncos versus the Cleveland Browns. Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and Miami versus the New York Jets. Then on my sits and survivor side, I'm going to do Carolina Panthers versus the Tennessee Titans, Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Houston Texans, Detroit Lions versus the Green Bay Packers, New York Giants versus New England Patriots, and the Baltimore Ravens versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Well, that's it for me, guys. Good luck this week. Hopefully you guys get a win, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Happy Thanksgiving again, and Black Friday. Have a good week, and I'll see you for week 13. Peace.